Thank you, Michael. Thanks, everybody. Okay, everybody knows how to vote, right? I've been watching you guys. You've been pretty good at it, because that's why you got your head down on your phone all session, right? Because you're voting, is that right? Come on, tough crowd, lighten up. All right. So let's talk about value pricing techniques. I want to talk about consultative selling and pricing on value, but I want to cover all the different types of pricing models from a high level that we see out there, some of the pros and cons of each, and then I want to give you a tool that you can use to evaluate the way you price against a value-based pricing model. Okay? My name is Eric Simpson. I'm Vice President and CIO of SPC International Online. How many of you know of SPC International or MSP University before SPC? Thanks for that. So my background is in enterprise IT. In 1997, we launched our own IT practice. In 2005, we were one of the first pure play MSPs in the industry. We sold the practice in 2007 to focus completely on educating and training the channel solution providers just like you on how to achieve the types of success that we had as an MSP. Once we figured out how to price and bundle our services, some of the things that I'm going to teach you today, we were able to sell over $2.2 million of recurring revenue managed services in the span of about 18 months. We figured it out. It took us a while to get there, about 9 months. We made a lot of mistakes, but once we figured it out, we were very, very successful. And some of that success came from the way we priced and bundled our services, and then how we increased our margins by selling on value rather than per device, per user. And we went through all of these methodologies, and I'm going to talk to you about how we did that. I'm going to give you a couple of war stories so that you can relate with me. So real quickly about SPC, we've been doing this for 17 years. We have over 600 channel engagements, 30,000 partners in our channel at spc-intl.com. And we're the IT business builder. We basically host the largest library of IT business improvement processes, tools, agreements, videos, trainings, tests in the industry. Marketing, sales, service delivery, operations, managed services, cloud, virtualization, you name it. We have it all online for you. Now, ChannelPro has been gracious enough to offer everyone in attendance today a free starter subscription to our online platform. And this is where I'm going to direct you to go to get the calculator that I'm going to feature at the end of my presentation that shows you how to compare your per user or per device pricing against a value-based pricing model that is priced based on margin, okay? So jump over to spc-intl.com/CP for ChannelPro, and you can sign up your entire organization for our starter subscription. So we've got every kind of business process you would ever need. We've got videos, webinars, I talked about all this, and we've got a new section with checklists now that you can go online and do onboarding checklists and hiring a sales professional checklist, hiring engineers, very, very cool stuff. So when you assign training to your staff, depending upon what their role is, what they'll see is tasks, which include watching a video, downloading a file or a tool, and then taking a test, which is very cool. And you can monitor their progress right on your own portal. Very cool. So training without testing is entertainment, so we're actually helping you educate your staff. And so here's how you can see what everybody's doing and how they're doing in the platform. What are the other kinds of things that we do? We go on site to clients, partners' locations and help you improve the operations of your internal service delivery business unit. We do the same thing for your sales unit. So we'll become your virtual CIO, help you hire a CIO or a service manager, become your virtual CSO, help you hire trained sales professionals, improve your closing outcomes, hire a sales manager, et cetera. And then we have overall business improvement consulting. So I do virtual COO services for our partners as well. All right. So enough about us, let's talk about pricing. So which one best describes what your prices are based on? Your costs, what the market will bear, or the value that you deliver? Help me out with this. You guys remember how to, there we go. All right. So let's give that a few seconds and see where we're at. I'm loving what I'm seeing so far. Right? Let me think about this for a second. When we're selling on value from a consultative perspective, you know what I used to tell our clients? You may think I'm nuts. But I used to say, hey, you know what? Anybody can close a trouble ticket. Anybody can break fix a PC. Anybody can build you a server. Quickly, I would also say, of course we do all that, right? But the reason why our clients engage with us is for the strategic value that we bring to their business relationship. Does that make sense to everybody? Say aye. I'm going to wake you guys up. Aye. Say aye. Selling on consultative value, the value that we bring from a strategic perspective. And I'm talking about sitting down and road mapping their technology, right? Quarterly business reviews that actually occur. What a concept, huh? How many of us are selling quarterly business reviews that we're not delivering today? How many of you will not raise your hand no matter what I ask? Just wink at me. Give me the secret sign so I know. Yeah, we all go through that, right? If we're going to deliver value and we're going to price our services accordingly, that means we're going to enjoy much higher margins. We don't need 1,000 clients, right? I want you to think about realizing 80% of new revenue from your existing clients year over year by using strategic quarterly business reviews. What does that do for us? That keeps us from that hamster wheel of trying to find new business with new clients all the time. There is new business right in your existing client base. Now, granted, not all of us have A clients. How many of us have C clients? Raise your hand. Give me the signal, give me the wink. How many of you have D clients? Okay? So as a consultative sales organization, think of your organization as a marketing company selling technology solutions to strategic business owners. Another question I would ask our prospects, do you consider yourself a strategic business owner? That seems pretty bold, doesn't it? How many prospects do you think said no to me when I asked them that question? Anybody? Very few. But I respected the ones that said, yeah, I'm not very strategic. That's why you're here. I love hearing that, right? But if they say I'm a strategic business owner, I say, well, let me give you my definition of a strategic business owner. A business owner that understands that their investment in technology gives them a competitive advantage in their market. Does that make sense? Say aye. I'll make it easy. You don't have to raise your hand anymore. Okay? So I want to work with strategic business owner clients because guess what? When I'm going through the sales process with them and I'm understanding their pain, not only their immediate pain, but their latent needs, I'm going to ask about budget, right? I'm going to drill down and really ask the tough questions. What are the implications of them not addressing these pains? And through the 7-step sales process, let me recommend a book for you real quick. It's called Secrets of Question-Based Selling. Who's read that book? Say aye. That book will change your business, I guarantee you. Secrets of Question-Based Selling by Thomas A. Fries. I think it's like $12 on Amazon. If you do nothing or take away nothing from my discussion today, please get that book and read it. It's not very thick, but it'll change the way you do business, okay? So I want to ask all the right questions in the right order to elicit not only the immediate pain, but the latent need that that client isn't thinking about, and layer on these implications so that they really build a sense of urgency in wanting to address those issues. And the more urgency we build and the more immediate, not just immediate pain, but latent needs and implications of not addressing those needs that we can uncover with that client, the higher the perceived value of our services. Does everybody agree? Say aye. Okay. Let's talk about pricing now. Okay, I want to talk a little bit about sales. I want to talk a little bit about pricing and how they converge. Okay, best-in-class VARs mean that your pre-tax net income is in the top 25 percentile of all other organizations within your predominant business model. What does that mean? Predominant business model. I've got a slide up here. I don't want to step on it, but I'm going to get to it in a second. So think about it. Think about what your predominant business model. That means that more than 50% of your revenue comes from one revenue stream. And we're going to talk about that in a second. But I wanted to give you this best-in-class VAR definition. I want to talk about why most of us fail to meet that definition. Okay? There's 5 reasons. Leadership's drive to be profitable. That sounds crazy. Of course everybody wants to be profitable, right? Well, we judge these outcomes based on our activities. So what is it that the leadership is doing intentionally to make sure that we are profitable? How many of you have normalized your P&L statements so that you understand what the profit and loss is for every single product, service, or solution that you sell today? Say aye. Good job. Because if you're not normalizing your P&L so you know what your profit and loss is on managed services, on cloud services, on break fix, on projects, on hardware sales, then what you end up with is a blended margin, which can mask underperforming services. And it also masks your superstar services. Am I making sense? Say aye. Right? So if I've got, if I know how to do break fix, and we have partners that know how to do break fix. I mean, they're earning 40 points on break fix services. My hat's off to them. Holy cow, that's phenomenal. But what happens if their managed services business unit isn't realizing the margins that they think they should be realizing? You know, that 40-point margin on the break fix services can mask the managed services underperformance. And it affects our ability to identify where we need work, okay? So what are we doing intentionally to be profitable? Are we looking at the P&L? Are we making sure that our teams are actually documenting every minute of their labor in our PSA solutions? Because there's no way, I'm going to say it, there's no way for you to understand what your cost of service delivery is if your team isn't documenting everything that they're doing in your PSA solutions. Does anyone disagree with me on that? You're just guessing at that point. So we got to, take these steps. What are we doing intentionally to make sure that we can identify what our costs of labor are and what it is that it takes to be profitable? Number 2, inability to cross-sell. We see this a lot with partners that we work with. The sales team gets in there and they're focused on getting that low-hanging fruit, but they're not executing the sales process properly during the qualifying stage to qualify that prospect or client for other products, services, and solutions that you sell. If for nothing else, to build that roadmap in your mind. You're playing chess with your prospects. Oh, I know what the immediate pain is. We're going to get in, we're going to solve that, we're going to knock it out of the park, and then I know the next thing I'm going to come back with, and I know the next thing I'm going to come back with. And these are the things that we're talking with them about during our quarterly business reviews, right? Inability to price services and enforce them. Okay, so I'm talking about selling on price now, right? How many of us have sales professionals or have had sales professionals that will negotiate on price with the client or prospect? Say aye. We've seen it, right? Hey, we've had sales professionals that did it too. Heck, I've done it. That's a no-no. What I want you to think about is instead of negotiating on price, understand the value of the services that you provide your clients and prospects and ask the budget question. Don't be afraid. Don't run from that. Once you've built that urgency and that need, what kind of a budget, and I ask it a specific way, what kind of budget could you find in order to address this need? Not what budget do you have, because they're always going to say what? They'll turn their pockets out. I have no budget. What kind of budget could you find to address these needs? And sometimes they'll say, I don't know anyway. But ask the question, because the more times that somebody gives you a number, at least you can set an appropriate expectation. You say, well, could we find more? That might not be enough, or maybe we phase it in. But what does that do for us? If we can get them to give us a number, one thing I'll guarantee you is when we price our proposal, it's going to align more closely with that budget. Maybe it's a little bit higher. Maybe we can try to get them to say yes. But at least we're not giving them a proposal and getting that sticker shock and they fall and pass out and you got to defibrillate them off the ground when you give them your proposal. How many of you have had to do that? I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Don't keep defibrillators in your car. That's not what sales is all about. We're just here to help, right? That's a joke, people. You're killing me. Come on. Keep up. Okay. Inability to measure results properly, right? So when we sell a managed service agreement, are we actually realizing the margins that we thought we were going to get on paper? Why is that? right? Are we pricing incorrectly? Is our service team not trained effectively enough to deliver that service, right? So when we're writing our 3 or 5 year managed service agreements that hold value, that give us multiples when we sell our business, we should be earning more margin in year 2 than in year 1. We should be earning more margin in year 3 than in year 2. Would you agree? Say aye. I hope so. Otherwise, we shouldn't be in the business, because we should be quieting the noise in that environment. And we should be in there selling additional point products and solutions to help that business owner achieve their business goals, increasing their efficiencies, reducing and mitigating risk, eliminating pain, looking at workflows, looking at communication processes. What is it that we're talking to that business owner about? Are we talking to them about business needs? Or are we talking to them about technical outcomes? Let me say that again. Are we talking to them about business needs or technical outcomes? That's a big differentiator when we're talking about selling consultatively. We want to be talking to that client about business outcomes, not technical outcomes. Okay? Because that's what means more to that business owner. They could care less how you fix something or what the neon, freon, xeon, muon CPU is in that server. They just want to know that it gets the job done. Nobody laughed at that either. Man, I'm going to have to break out my Big Bang Theory jokes in a minute. All right, you guys are tough. Compensation mismatch. Are our sales comp plans engineered appropriately? We've worked with some partners whose sales comp plans can never be realized because they don't understand what the cost of delivering and selling that service is, the marketing costs and the overhead costs, and they've created these mismatches in sales comp or compensation plans that don't influence performance and reward success when we knock it out of the park. Does that make sense? Say aye. Man, I'm losing you guys. Wake up a little bit. Wake up. Here, factors that affect pricing. Let's talk about this for a second, because depending upon where you are in your organization's growth, the type of business model that you have, your bundles, how you price, your service delivery efficiency, and most importantly, your sales sophistication, you may never be able to achieve some of these margins that these best-in-class solution providers can realize today, right? So your predominant business model, let's take this one by one. Product-centric. How many of us come from the DNA of hardware and software license resales? Say aye. Nobody's going to raise their hand or wink at me, I know. So are you still earning the majority of your revenue from that revenue stream, right? It can typically be challenging to earn the types of margins that are required to run a business just selling hardware and software. Not saying that some of us aren't very good at it. It can be challenging. And it leads us to more of a selling on price negotiation, right? Clients want to negotiate on price when they're buying hardware and things like that. Time and materials, right? How many of us earn more than 50% of our revenue today from time and materials sales? Say aye. Okay. Projects. How many of us earn most of our revenue, 51%, from selling professional services, projects, and implementations, things like that? Say aye. Okay, it's getting quiet. And managed services and cloud? Aye. Good, I like to hear that. So here's what happens. The more sophisticated we are in our business model, the easier it is to improve our consultative sales outcomes. So what do I mean by that? It's hard selling cloud services, isn't it? And managed services. Maybe it's easier today because everybody knows about it. But boy, when we started our MSP practice, we had to educate every single client as to what that was. What is that? What is managed services? Right? We figured out how to position it, how to bundle, how to get them to say yes. But it was a very consultative type of sale. Cloud services even more consultative. If 51% of your sales today are product-centric, it's a big leap to go from hardware sales to selling services. Your sales process is different. Some of your salespeople may never make that switch, right? You're going to have special folks come in and sell services. How many of you have had sales professionals that just are good at selling point products and solutions, but really struggle at selling services? Say aye. Okay? It's difficult. Time and materials, same thing. Projects, we're pretty consultative when we're selling projects typically as a professional services firm. So it's easier for us to make that switch to managed services and cloud and to sell consultatively when we're selling more projects. Okay? So what's the offering? So we talked about your business model. Now let's talk about the offering. You've got to understand what is going to be in your offering. If we're going to sell managed services, what is it that we're selling? What goes into our 5-pack, as Carl discussed this morning? You know, are we selling remote monitoring only as a way to get our foot in the door and find additional upsell opportunities? How do we price that? And then how do we go to market? And we're going to break these down. Okay? So for managed services, we're typically selling, oh, these are backwards, huh? Look, it says managed services, that goes here, and cloud goes here. Nobody caught that last time. So for managed services, just pretend that's over here. What are we selling? What's in our bundles? Are we selling additional bundled solutions with our services? Are we including security, for instance? Are we including AV, right? Are we including VoIP? What else are we selling? And on the cloud side, are we selling SaaS, PaaS, or IaaS, right? Software as a service, platform as a service, infrastructure as a service. Anyone selling platform as a service? Say aye. Very specialized, right? Completely different sales process, different customer base than typical infrastructure as a service, which you see a lot, and then of course software as a service, which really breaks down into things like Office 365. So let's look at a basic managed service solution stack. So we've got our network monitoring, obviously, help desk, and vendor management. So how many of us are delivering some version of that today? Say aye. Okay? So different ways to price that, we're going to get into it in a second. Now here's your cloud stack, right? Those of us that are selling platform as a service are really selling a solution stack in a development environment. Those of us that are selling infrastructure as a service, we know that that's computing infrastructure. We may be racking things. We may be reselling host space. And then software as a service, pretty much application software. So how do you take a blended group of billable technicians that are delivering service against projects, some break fix, and some managed services, and determine what your true cost of service delivery is? This has typically been a challenge when you look at it, because you've got a group of individuals that are probably each being paid a different rate, that are probably spending different amounts of their time on projects, on break fix, on managed services, and your managed service agreements are typically going to be priced differently. Would you guys agree with that? Say aye. Okay. So let me give you the simple thumbnail formula. Now, before I get into this, who are my accounting sharpshooters in the room, just so I know who's going to nail me? Anybody? Okay, this is, hey, just a thumbnail, okay? We can get into a much more complex, you know, hourly cost of service formula if you like, but that's a completely different session. So I'm going to give you just a quick thumbnail view of how to get a look at this. The first thing you've got to do to determine your hourly cost of service delivery is understand what your labor and overhead burden are per hour for all of your billable resources, right? So what are all their salaries add up to, and what is your burn rate for your overhead for the billable folks? Then you do I have that? Yeah, down here at the bottom here. So figure what that is per hour. Divide that by what? 2880, right? Everybody knows what 2880 represents, correct? Say aye. Billable hours or work hours per year. Now that doesn't include time off, vacation, sick leave, and inefficiency of service delivery, because that can also sway your cost of service delivery. Does that make sense? Say aye. Okay? I'll clarify that in a second if I need to. So what are the number of hours per month to support one customer, right? If you're selling a managed service agreement with a customer that's got 40 users and a couple of servers, what do you forecast? What is your cost of subscription for your managed services? I want you to include everything in that. I mean, what fractional part of your PSA and RMM tool costs are there? What costs of cloud services are there to you before you resell that, right? So what are the costs of all your subscriptions? You take your hourly cost of service delivery, you multiply it by your projected support hours plus your cost of subscription. And that's how you can determine what your hourly cost of service delivery is for one client. I think I have a poll here. So how many of you, using a formula similar to that, feel that you have a good understanding of your cost of service delivery today? It's always interesting to watch as everybody chimes in. All right. It's almost like you need a horse race announcer. All right, and you know. I want you guys to work on this, and there's when you create your subscriptions on our online platform, there's a really good webinar, a recorded training session that I do on there that breaks this down in even more detail for you, understanding your true cost of service delivery. Okay, so we've got, looks like we got a rough idea wins, don't really know it, and know it pretty well comes in third. Know it thoroughly. All right, so we're rough idea and don't really know it neck and neck. So 10% of us know. So let's take that previous example that I just gave and said, okay, so we figured out what our overhead burden per hour is and our labor rate per hour is for our billable technicians, and it's come out to $58.75 per hour. Projected support hours per month for that one particular client is 8 hours per month. Our cost of subscriptions is $1,000 all in. So here's our total cost of service delivery per month, $1,470 per month. Everybody with me? Say aye. Aye. All right, let's burn through the next couple of slides. I think I'm getting the high sign here. So here's our cost of service delivery. Let's say we want a 60% markup on that. Boom, there's our retail price. This is brick and mortar stuff, right? There's nothing special about this. We're adding a markup, and we're coming up with a retail price monthly.
Can you go back
2 slides.
That 8 hours is based on what?
Your forecasted hours of supporting that client per month.
So your cost of subscriptions, where's that coming from?
That could be your cloud services that you're reselling to that client, your fractional PSA, your fractional RMM tools, anything that you're selling to them, what it's costing you. Okay?
Based on that, I think that's very high.
Okay, your mileage may vary. These are just numbers, folks. Okay, got it? Okay? I mean, okay? So it depends on what you're selling. You could be selling them VoIP and handsets and things like that. So it could be high, it could be low. All right. So here are some of the typical pricing models that we see: per user, per device, easy to price, but also easy to shop. There's the guidance on that, right? Tiered, most popular pricing model. Clients usually take the lowest entry point if they don't know you, maybe the middle point, and then it's your job to upsell them. Selling on value requires more marketing and sales acumen to price and sell, but can yield the highest margins, because now you're selling on value, you're selling on what that prospect's willing to pay to overcome their business pain and challenges. So some pricing considerations that can affect your pricing are availability. Are they okay with 3 nines of availability, or do they need more? They're going to pay more for that. Redundancy. Do they want automatic failover for the infrastructure or not? What is it that they need for a redundancy, from a redundancy perspective, and security? How many of you verticalize into like financial and healthcare markets? Say aye. Okay? Any vertical that has regulatory compliance requirements is going to be gold. Think about that when you're thinking about verticalizing, because there you can really sell on value more effectively. Pricing by tier example. I'm going to blow past this slide. You guys know this stuff. So here's the calculator that I want you guys to download when you log in. Just search for pricing calculator. We have like 4 or 5 different ones that you can download. This one is the pricing calculator. And I have 5 slides and we're done, so if you guys' stomachs are growling, we'll be out of here in just a second. But I want you to really understand the philosophy behind this. This is not how you go in and sell services, okay? This is a tool used in a step of the sales process. In fact, it's in the presentation step of the sales process. Some people get confused and think, oh, Eric said all I have to do is show up and run this tool and I'll be selling managed service agreements. That's not what I'm saying, okay? Learn the sales process, execute the sales process, and use the tool to help you price, okay? So let's take this for example. There's 5 steps in this calculator when you download it. Step 1 asks you for the organization's gross revenue. Is the prospect going to give you this information? Maybe, maybe not. 9 out of 10 prospects would share this with me because without it I could not present them a proposal. And I positioned it in such a way to let them know that I want to see how much money I can save you over how you're managing your infrastructure today. Would you agree to give me some information? Okay, sure. What's your organization's gross revenue? $4 million in this example. How many users on the network? 35. How many servers? 2. I'm not using 35 and 2 as a way to price the service. I'm putting it in because the calculator does some downtime calculations for me that help me make my point. Step 2, how many vendors does the client manage? 8 in this example. How many hours do they spend per month managing vendors? 4. And this may not be the business owner, it may be an office manager or someone else who wasn't hired to do vendor management. They're doing it because they have to, taking away their time from doing the things that add value to the organization. What is the vendor manager's average hourly rate? 18 bucks an hour. How many hours are spent performing IT functions per month? So here's somebody that may have an apprentice or somebody on staff that kind of breaks things before they call the break-fix service provider. You know who I'm talking about? The one when you show up and say, what happened? Oh, I don't know what happened. It was working fine yesterday and their fingerprints are all over it. You know what I'm saying? Laugh. It's okay to laugh. Laughter is the best medicine. That person. So how many hours do they spend internally managing backups, patches, updates, that kind of stuff a month? What is their hourly rate? 18 bucks an hour. Now, you're not seeing, I've hidden this on the right here because these numbers start populating here. Okay? But I don't want to distract from here. 3 more slides. Step 3, how many hours per month are email services down? How many hours per month is the internet down? How many hours per month is the server or any desktops down per month? And this calculates hourly or annual downtime. The numbers I'm using here are actual numbers from a prospect sales engagement that I did, okay? They actually had these kinds of numbers that they were paying somebody for all that wonderful downtime. 72 hours a year. Step 4, what's the average salary per employee? 35K. And this calculates the total employee yearly payroll. Employee annual hours, 2080. Total employee annual hours does a calculation, 72.8. And then the average hourly labor cost per employee and the individual employee hourly contribution to gross revenue. If they're not working, it's a double-edged sword. You're paying them to sit idle, but they're also not contributing to the gross revenue of the business. Now, I know you sharpshooters will say, well, those are soft costs. Yeah, we've heard all those objections before. That's why you don't rely on the calculator to sell the service. You rely on your sales process and use the calculator to help you price. Am I clear? Say aye. Okay. Step 5, last step. Existing annual in-house IT costs. Do they have someone on staff that they're paying to manage the infrastructure, yes or no? Or is it outsourced? They were paying an outsourced company $1,000 a month for that wonderful downtime, okay? Now, there's a little button here that says Show IT Provider Pricing Tool. Click that, and this will pop up. And this will allow you to price per PC or per user what you normally would price. Use these sliders or just type them in there and come up with your total monthly price for somebody like that. But then, what I would encourage you to do, so that's what happens, is to add a %, okay? increase, say I want 50%, 60%, whatever margin you want, and slide that. So, and see the difference, 2560 to 4864. Which one do you think I like better? The second one. Say the second one. Say it loud. Come on, I want to make sure you're on my team. Second one, right? Now watch. So I'm going to quote that client. 4864 tells me I'm going to go 4885. Okay, 1 minute. Got it. And I'm going to show a total client savings of downtime and the cost that they're paying to that other service provider of $135,973.38. And I'm going to propose 4885 for that. Now, if that's not enough, I have a 5-year total click here, and I can show them over 5 years. Now, again, not everybody's going to appreciate this, but we used it to great effect when paired with an effective consultative sales process, at least to give you guys an idea of how much more you could earn. Maybe you don't take it 30%, maybe you go 20%, maybe you think 4885 is too high, but it's better than 2345, right? So look at what you're doing, improve your consultative sales process, use a pricing tool to understand how much value you can actually present to a client and get them to say yes. Our average pricing for, back in the day, 20 user network with 2 servers was $3,000 a month. And we thought we would never get anybody beyond 55 bucks a desktop. So this was an eye-opener for us. Okay? That's my time, folks. Thanks very much. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Eric.